Oi, oi, oi there, and welcome back to another Christian Kleckervieden. And no, okay, I'm not. I wasn't. I was tempted to literally just do an improv to a Scottish accent all the way through this, if for no other reason than it will just be something that would take you guys by surprise. But something that was of no surprise whatsoever is Chris's antagonism of one Michael Snyder. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Let me know, by the way, if you want me to do like a special one-off where I do like the entire video in a Scottish accent. Because, there's nothing richer in the world than having to do a Scottish accent. It's very dour. But, okay, you get the idea. Okay, first of all, pro tip. Do not attempt to contact Michael Snyder. He has had no contact with Chris for nearly a decade, and most certainly doesn't want to talk about an autistic MF with a stranger on the internet. For example, I can't believe I've spent all these years conspiring to make your life more miserable than your fossilized parents could ever dream of. Oh wait, I wasn't doing that. I've been too busy living my own life. I remember you as a child creeping out all the other Pokemon kids, including my own, because even 10 years ago, you were an angry, unsportsmanlike punk. Signed, that goddamn Michael Snyder. Michael Snyder responding to Green County conspiracy video. That was the video where Chris trying to garner sympathy because he had nobody to be with when he went to an extreme sports event in 2010. Michael Snyder is one of Chris's many enemies. He was the manager of the Game Place, later known as Seville's Hobbies, Games and Toys, a game and hobby store that was in Charlottesville. Chris regularly caused trouble at the place and was eventually permabanned in June 2008. Based on his surname, Chris came to the incorrect conclusion that Snyder was Jewish. In actuality, Snyder is actually an Americanized version of either the Dutch surname Schneider, the German name Schneider, or the Slavic surname Snyder, all of which translate to tailor in their respective languages. I have no idea where Chris picked this up on either. I can only assume that it was just another means of trying to antagonize Michael Snyder. Because, once again, Chris trying to claim he's not a monster, despite the fact that he does some terribly monstrous things. Due to his misguided belief that he had genuine friends at the place, Chris developed a burning hatred for Snyder over the years, describing him as the B word, the J word, and finally the PSJ word. Also the CHM word and that word. Oh, and also the CFD word. So, yeah, that's the reason why I'm actually just describing them instead of actually saying them is because I've had problems before where quite a lot of my old videos were starting to disappear from sight because they didn't like the language being used. So that's sort of why it is. Take it up with YouTube if you got an issue with it. In June 2010, Chris had a run-in with Snyder when he tried to take his picture at the place, and on the 28th of October 2011, both Bob and Chris committed a more serious attack on him, which they were both convicted. Legal punishment, as well as the store's eventual closing, have done nothing to check Chris's rage. It also should be noted the fact that Chris could have tried to have curbed his behaviour, but by this point, I don't think any attempt Chris would have literally have been worth it, because Chris wasn't doing it to get back. He was just doing it so it was one thing he felt he was entitled to. Chris didn't really seem to understand the implications of what was the word of tact or dignity, as we know. Despite being a major antagonist in Chris's eyes, Snyder was spared from being adopted into a Solitude counterpart villain. This might have been because he didn't threaten the love quest, or more likely Solitude went on hiatus sometime before Chris began developing further antipathy towards the store manager. That is true. So, let's begin at the actual game place itself. That was why they kicked me out of the game place permanently. After years of loyal volunteer service in the Pokemon TCG League, I had apologized numerously before, but he's still the blah 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 he was then. Chris claiming to be his usual humble self. Chris's behaviour at the game place offended the store's management in a number of ways. He slacked off of his supposed duty as a Pokemon gym leader, scared the children he played card games with, picked fights with other players, and let his racism and homophobia shine, as well Chris was bound to let it do. He also took his video game consoles into the store and hogged the shop's flat-screen television for considerable amounts of time, loudly sang Britney Spears songs during games. God, that must have been such a drag. Pitch fits inspired by his hatred of the Hexbox, and much more. In April 2008, Chris's behaviour got him a 2-week ban from the store. This trigger for his permanent ban on the 6th of June 2008 was as a result of a shouting match with a black kid. It was on that day that Mike permanently banned Chris from the store, although, as Mims claimed, he was looking for any reason to ban him at this point. Michael himself later recalled in a response to one of Chris's videos, "I remember you as a child creeping out all the other Pokemon kids, including my own, because even 10 years ago, you were an angry, unsportsmanlike punk." Predictably, Chris did his best to appeal his permaban. He brought his parents to argue his case with Michael Snyder, to which Michael responded by calling the police. Thank you so much, Michael Snyder. Despite a fierce rejoinder by his mother Barbara, Chris and his family failed to move either Michael or the cops, and every indication was that Chris would never be allowed back into the store. Years of hatred. And I also hope that Game and Hobby Place in Charlottesville burns to the ground, along with Michael Snyder. And that's all my ranting for right now. Yeah, this is from Chris's autism tutorial, and I'm just going to open this up because I wanted to make a very strong case about something which I've never thought to mention before, because it's only relevant to sort of moments like this. I'm signaling this out because just watch this. We go from Chris shouting "burn to the ground" along with Michael Snyder.
That's on my ranty for.
And then it almost immediately cuts to Chris trying to smile and just say, "Well, that's all I've got to say right now." Now, it may sound incredibly small, than what I just tried to exemplify, but it does lead into a bit of a larger issue I've certainly have had with Chris's anger, is that he could go from being angry 1 minute to completely normal and just kind of relaxed the next minute. Whether you want to say this is because Chris is not actually angry, but rather he's just sort of fading it in just so he can let out his transgressions against other people that he knows fine well that he holds grudges with. But I also like to imagine it's the fact that Chris, I think, secretly deep down knows fine well what the issues were, but Chris is simply failing to see what the issues are in his own eyes. So the only thing worth doing is to almost fade interest, and it leads into an idea about whether or not Chris is really that, angry at all with Mary Lee Walsh or Michael Snyder, because I think deep down inside Chris knew exactly what the deal was, but Chris just doesn't want to accept responsibility, which I know is just what you expect from Chris, but it's also not particularly right either. It's simply put, it's got to be somebody's responsibility, and Chris doesn't want to accept any of it. I mean, I know it's it's old hat at this point, but it's one of those things I kind of felt the need to bring up if nobody else would. Chris has given many different explanations for why he was banned, but has never believed it was justified. In the Jackie emails, Chris claimed that he had been thrown out of the store much earlier than Mims indicates, in June 2008. It was in this month, according to Chris, that Michael Snyder forced him to stop hogging the TV for his Wii. Doing this apparently caused a number of kids to miss out on obtaining a few trade-in Evolution Pokemon. Chris got angry and snatched a card box to write Michael Snyder loves the F out of Mary Lee Walsh on it. This so-called Wii incident, Chris claimed, was Michael's last straw, which precipitated the ban. This account is almost certainly false, apart from contradicting Mim's more objective account. Chris predictably tried to paint himself as getting one up on Snyder and assumed that Mike would know or care who Mary Lee Walsh was. Meanwhile, there was also this defamatory poster that Chris made. Do not let cruel, mean people get away with unlawful, detestable discrimination. Find one such person at the Game and Hobby Place. Find the manager Michael Snyder and ask him, why do you hate Christian? It's all about see YouTube audio only for a sample of his cold-hearted nature. And tell Michael Snyder straight up, do not discriminate against good-hearted people like Christian Western Chandler. This is almost, well, first of all, written in Comic Sans. Good job, Chris. Very professional. Second, are you really trying to tell us, with everything we know so far, Chris, and given that what Michael would probably testify to give the more democratic and true version of why you were banned, why on earth is Chris trying to convince people with all the evidence in the world to suggest otherwise? Who is Chris trying to fool? On another occasion, however, Chris claimed that Michael was scared of me and he was afraid and he was preoccupied with his crackpot theory of me scaring his customers away. So he banned me from the store. In December 2013, this time his explanation was, he has his hang-ups against me, still has them. He's either frightened or angry at me for the 1 or 2 times I let out a loud shout when there was too much going on at the time and I couldn't take it anymore. That's not really Michael's fault, that's for you to deal with, Chris. At other times, he has assumed that Michael is prejudiced against autistic individuals and had discriminated against them. Chris seeming to think that autism is now a race of people, but no, that's not true either. In any case, while Chris has sometimes admitted he has caused small problems, he has not felt that they are justified a permanent ban, and he blames Snyder's overreaction on an irrational hatred. Even worse, from Chris's perspective, Michael refused to accept his numerous apologies and lift the ban. In March 2009, Chris made a clearly self-serving YouTube video apology to Michael and asked him to be readmitted to the place. The following month, he tried again, posting an apology on the sidebar of another video. Yet again, in October 2010, Chris made a bogus YouTube apology in order to look better to his girlfriend. None of these had any effect. On the 12th of April 2010, Chris trespassed to pay a personal visit to Michael at the place and tried to apologize in an attempt to get the ban lifted. Michael said no. Chris quickly dissolved into fury, yelling the word Jew as an insult and flipping him off. Michael attempted to get the fuzz, but by that time they got there, Chris had already scrammed. Unable to comprehend Michael's actions, or reality generally for that matter, Chris came to suspect that some greater conspiracy was at work. As the organised trolling of Chris shifted into high gear, Chris wondered if Michael was somehow behind it all. What are you, a confirmed internet troll? He asked in July 2009. In May 2010, he put forth the theory that Greene County, Virginia school board officials had persuaded Michael to ban him, for no other reason than to make his life miserable. Perhaps because of this conspiratorial mindset. Chris seems to have jumped to his conclusion that Michael was Jewish on the account of his last name. In his May 2010 video, Chris called Michael goddamn greedy Snyder, seeming to restrain himself from calling Snyder the J word. In fact, Snyder is a German surname meaning tailor, and Snyder or Schneider descends for the Dutch word for cutter. While some Eastern European and Russian Jews might have wound up with the name by anglicizing Schneider, it doesn't necessarily denote Jewish heritage at all. The bottom line is that Michael is not Jewish, and that Chris thought he was, and thought that it was just about the only way to really get back at Snyder because it was something personal and something that Chris could actually hurt Michael with. That wasn't a car. A phone call on the 10th of August 2010 indicated that Bob, and presumably Bob as well, shared Chris's idea of the gameplays as Troll Central. Mike's been persecuting him for years, and I don't like Mike. I'd like to speak to the owner of the place. I think he lives up there, up the road from me, in Madison or somewhere. This whole thing is a setup from the very beginning with my son. Now, I don't like it then, and I still don't like it. Mike and Megan are the ones that conspired together with a couple of other people, kids, there that I think were gay, to persecute and torment Christian for years. I don't know, again, well, Bob was like 83 at this point, was like nearly 83 at this point. What did Bob have to know about this? And, well, anything he thought he knew is probably passed down from Chris or Bob by that point. On the 6th of June 2010, Chris had a beer, then drove to the place to make a dartboard out of Mike's picture. When several people came out of the store to confront him, Chris got back in his car and attempted to flee, nearly hitting Snyder twice as he attempted to block Chris's escape. 2 police officers present at the shopping centre stopped the fracas. At that moment, Michael appeared on YouTube and commented, "Christian is in my parking lot right now being grilled by the police. He took pictures of my daughter and tried to run me over with his car. They witnessed this, and I bet they still do nothing about it." The officers listened to both sides and then let Chris off with a warning after making him delete the pictures he'd taken. To present his side of the story, Chris posted an incredibly delusional video in which he claimed that Michael had jumped on his hood and shouted, "You're dead, you're dead." He admitted to trying to flee from the police and saw nothing wrong with his actions. Chris told a very similar fanciful story of another assault 4 years later. Chris didn't tell his parents about this incident. You know, if we were to list up all the things that Chris never told his parents, I reckon they would have literally thrown him out years ago. What do you guys think? Chris's hatred of Michael only grew. He began to insinuate that Michael was a child M-word based on no evidence whatsoever. He also assumed that Michael was a violent maniac. While making plans to visit the store in April 2010, Chris wrote, "I pray he won't get violent. If he does, I will defend myself." How can you do that? How are you going to do that, Chris? On another occasion, he said that he was so afraid of Mike that he did not want to confront him while unarmed and alone. Ironically, Chris himself has on many occasions expressed violent urges against Michael, whether it was telling Lars that he would shoot Michael if he had a gun, or wishing that the place would burn down with Mike inside. Why say that? What does Chris hope to gain from saying stuff like this? And Chris doesn't want people to discriminate against himself. Chris describing himself as a good-hearted individual, despite the fact that he would be willing to shoot somebody, as well as wanting to see a person die in a fire. Shit gets real. I pray that someone else will plant in the green game and hobby place and blow the whole damn store up. It does not deserve to ever have Seaville in its name above its accursed, sullied hellfire entrance and doors. Death to Michael Snyder too. That B word among B words ruined and destroyed my life, emotions, and being. Chris while facing a charge for running Snyder over with his car. I wish this was presented to court and that Chris would have been behind bars so much sooner, because honestly, considering that shut up. I thought I put why is this thing not on mute? There we are. Considering that Daniel Larson at this very moment is under investigation by the FBI and his bond is being refused, this is the sort of thing that could have wounded in Chris in prison for these sorts of dangerous threats. On the 28th of October 2011, just a few weeks after Bob's death, Chris and Bob launched a vehicular assault on the newly christened Seaville's Hobbies Games and Toys, newly opened by Snyder. Chris and Bob both hit the proprietor with their vehicle and injured him. They were arrested near the scene and spent a day in jail. Both faced felony charges for failure to stop after an accident. While Chris also had trespassing and misdemeanor assault, and Bob had a second felony charge for assaulting a law enforcement official, Mike filed a civil suit against both of them. The plea bargain hearing was held on the 10th of July 2012. Despite his past history with the Chandlers, Snyder magnanimously pushed for leniency in the court case, as he did not want Chris to get a felony on his record. As part of the plea bargain, however, he apparently insisted on his medical bills being paid in full by the Chandlers. I mean, reasonable. This prompted Chris to openly refer to Snyder as a thieving liar in court, though Snyder himself was not in attendance, showing a complete lack of gratitude to a man who had showed an amazing level of kindness considering the circumstances. To be honest, if I was in Snyder's shoes, I would not be giving the Chandlers any sort of leniency whatsoever. I would ask them to throw away the key. I mean, if I was run over and the people who did it said these sorts of things, yeah, like, what? I mean, Snyder didn't do anything. Snyder was the complete innocent, and he did absolutely the right thing for everything involving Chris. Because unlike Chris, Snyder was responsible. He had enough to care. He had responsibilities. What does Chris have? Before or after? What did he have? In September 2013, Chris's felony charge was amended to a misdemeanor and his sentence was suspended. The hatred continues. I hate Snyder with a passion for destroying my life the way he did. Chris, following the plea bargain hearing. Chris learned nothing from his run-in with the law, and his anger towards Michael only intensified. As with the previous run-in, Chris related an extremely distorted account of the incident immediately after the fact. Michael twice made his own deliberate leg scars, rubbing his legs on our bumper, banged our hood and fell backwards. We had not moved our van at either instance of him faking his falls. What's more, according to Chris, Mike had set up a trap by posting a sign saying that there was a new owner, inducing him and his mother to enter the store. Chris has never deviated from this interpretation. The fact that Michael actually won the court case shocked Chris, and he saw this as theft by Michael. As Chris continued to dwell on these issues, he came up with a new conspiracy to explain his original ban. In this version, Megan had recruited Michael into a conspiracy to destroy his life. Just as Chris and his parents had been coming close to discovering this game-place conspiracy in 2008, Michael had banned him. Furthermore, as part of the trap, Michael had laid on the 28th of October 2011, he had bribed the police to beat him up and falsely make their reports. By September 2013, he regarded Michael, Megan, and Mary Lee Walsh as some sort of axis of evil, the top three fiends and enemies of my lifetime. The ones who actually have devastated my heart, my soul, my reputation online and in person / real life, my emotions, and my life in general all around. It's very curious that just reading through all this, the only thing you can gather from all this is that it was absolutely everybody else's fault, and Chris had absolutely he was a complete innocent in all this. And I'm gonna stay for the record now, ladies and gentlemen, as I'll probably say when we actually get to talk about Megan Schroeder herself. Chris couldn't be any further from the truth by claiming he was innocent. Chris is very sorely mistaken. Chris claimed that he randomly encountered Snyder in public sometime in August 2013. The same manager of Seville's Hobbies and Games and Toys gave me the finger at Sheets in Ruckersville and threatened me with, "Relax, I'm not going to hurt you," in my face at McDonald's in Ruckersville, both in the same morning a few weeks ago. I did not respond to either at the times. He violated his own restraining order. Chris clearly interpreted Mike's calming words as a threat. He also displayed his characteristic ignorance of the law. Chris was required to keep away from Snyder, not vice versa. This is Snyder's last known interaction in regards to Chris. By June 2014, Seville's Hobbies, Games and Toys had been closed for unknown reasons. Chris took some comfort from this, assuming that Michael's get-rich-quick scheme of filing the civil suit had somehow failed. Whether Michael succumbed to Chris's curses, immigrated to Israel, or met some other fate is unclear, and due to Chris not saying anything recent about him, we may never know. But as of August 2017, Chris not only still believes Michael Snyder set him up, but also blames him for blowing all of Bob's pension during the 2012 plea bargain hearing because Mike rubbing his leg against Chris's car is somehow to blame as opposed to hiring an expensive lawyer. One that would have been provided by the city anyway, also would not have gotten Chris off the hook. Meanwhile, there are Snyder's comments on the YouTube on Chris's YouTube channel. On Michael Snyder is cold-hearted and mean. If any of you have a problem with me, you can call me anytime. I am happy to take you on, Mike. I have been told I have no recourse for any of his actions, and his encouraging people to harass me. Turnabout is fair play. By the way, he is reading from a script he had written on a piece of paper. By the way, I'm not Jewish, but the last name is German, originally Snyder. He uses Jew because almost got him seriously hurt. He uses the word like a curse word. I want to thank all the fans for calling and supporting me. And get on your phones. Happy dialing. Elvis has left the building. I have been giving him reasons since the police came in June 2008, and nothing has sunken into that clown head of his. No, the current thinking is his mother had fossilized eggs and his father's sperm were in the walker. Plus, drinking heavy during the pregnancy didn't help. Christian is in my parking lot right now. And finally, the biggest one is, when I go to hell, I will hold the door open for you, if not too busy giving tours. I can't believe I've spent all these years conspiring to make your life more miserable than your fossilized parents could ever dream of. Oh wait, I wasn't doing that. I've been too busy living my own life. I remember you as a child creeping out all the other Pokemon kids, including my own, because even 10 years ago, you were still an angry, unsportsmanlike punk. Signed, that goddamn Michael Snyder. And that's just about everything. And I think there's at least one video left to actually talk about. Oh yeah, there is still one because, well, where is it? I don't know if well, it's not here. But I suppose for what they are worth, yeah, we could just about to check out the video here because this is the video that makes Chris look like the biggest clown to ever walk the earth. I know it's all audio, but you guys will get the message anyway, so happy listening.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Bye.
Hello, Michael. I see you're looking well. Haven't changed much since for the past almost 2 years. And yeah, it has been almost 2 years since what happened June 2008. But I came back hoping that we could put that behind us. And come on, I mean, it has been almost 2 years, and it's just been on my mind for so long. Just being. Can't we just forgive and forget? Come on, to have this weight on my back.
No.
And I have really missed coming here.
No. You need to leave now.
I'm a better person.
You need to leave now.
Come on, dude.
No. You need to leave now.
How can you be so heartless? I mean, you're obviously not as mean as one of those trolls I've been dealing
You
with.
need to leave now.
I mean, come on. I mean, obviously you had something against me, aside from the Wii incident. I just would like to know what. Come on. Give me a break. Alright, fine, I'll leave. But I hope that God will forgive you for being so heartless and cruel, Michael Snyder.
And that's everything. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, what have we learned today? Oh yeah, that's right, is that don't be... when you go into a person's establishment, you are obeying their rules. don't be aggressive and act like an absolute dick to people. And finally, when you are banned, don't think you've got a chance coming back, because that's the point of no return, and no amount of conspiracy videos or trying to make amends only to shout out all sorts of slurs is going to change people's opinions in the future. So, thank you so much for watching, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.